Hello everyone! Blizzard was kind enough to invite me over to Gamescom, where after driving to Germany, I was able to check out their booth, which had a sick VR experience flying through Dalaran. I was able to stream, which made me incredibly jealous of the setup they had going on there, and I kind of want to upgrade mine. And I also got the time to sit down and interview developers, lead software engineer May Flores, and associate design director Maria Hamilton. Knowing that the beta already showed us a whole bunch of the story, and they're most likely not going to give me spoilers for the future, I decided to focus the questions more on the systems, the design philosophies, catching people up on the story so far. I'll be sure to add the questions with timestamps in the description down below. But we talked about things like what is being done to get people caught up on the story so far, the potential of expanding the story mode on raids, how delves could be used for catch up on the story, how they're going to be implemented, tools for role players to roleplay better, and I poked a little bit to get some spoilers on Xal'atath. You can see the interview for yourself. The answers to the questions are there. But for me, like something that I want to pass on that might not come across in the interview is that I left that room more hyped than when I entered it. I felt like I talked to developers who give a damn, right? Like who care about the story that they're putting out, who care about the world building and the plans that they have. And regardless of the reception, these are people that care and want to give us some cool stuff, and hopefully that passes on through the interview as well. For those that have been asking, I will 100% cover the story of the War Within, as I've done in the past. It's gonna take some time though to record and get everything scripted and edited. So far, I've been streaming it, and it's been a ton of fun of going through it. I'll do my best to get it out as soon as I can. Now that will do for the introduction to the interview. Here are the actual questions and the answers. I hope you'll enjoy. And a big thank you to Blizzard for actually thinking about me and inviting me over to do this. And hopefully the audio is going to be great. It was my first time. Hope you'll enjoy. And talk to you soon, everybody. Okay, bye.
Okay, we got the voice, 2 cameras, we got all kinds of backups. First of all, thank you very much for taking the time for this. For those at home that don't know you yet, who are you? What do you do? Why should they love you?
So I am May Flores. I am one of the lead gameplay software engineers on the World of Warcraft team. So what my team does is essentially we take care of the WoW code base. We build the systems like, the spell system, the quest system, conversations. So we build a lot of the gameplay backend.
Awesome.
Yeah, without May's team, the game wouldn't work. So you should love her for that reason. I'm Maria Hamilton. I'm an associate design director on WoW. I'm primarily involved with the world and getting the world built up. So I take care of the quest and the narrative team. I work with the world building, world art, and the cinematics teams as well. So we put the world in Warcraft. That's what we do.
So basically you bring the world to life, the story.
We certainly try very hard to do that. But without May's work, it wouldn't work.
It's the back end, yeah. That's where everybody gets the story from. So one of the major things that I hear from people in the community is that they would love to get into the story of WoW, but they're like 20 years of storytelling, really difficult to get into. Is that known on your end? And if so, what are you doing to make that easier, to transition for people to get into the story?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that people can be quite intimidated. 20 years of background story, a lot of complexity there. We decided that for the start of the World's Wolf Saga, we would put out this shorter video that tells you sort of the key points you need to know, which we put out just recently. And it shows you, from the point the Sargeras stabbed Azeroth, various events that will be pertinent to the story. And we think a lot about ways to help bridge that gap for people that are really very interested in the lore. I don't have anything to announce today on that front, but it is something we've been talking and thinking about considerably. So
there are things, it is known at Blizzard, like, okay, people wants to get into the story and they're working on it.
Yes, we're aware that it's just, I mean, honestly, there's so much there that it's so rich, it's so deep, that we have a whole department that is the historian lore department. And when narrative designers or quest designers are trying to write things out, they will ask, hey, would you look up the history, please? Would you check? Because we have people that are literally Azeroth historians. So that's a job.
I believe it's led by Sean Copeland as well,
Sean
the
Copeland,
charge.
yeah.
Are you still looking for people into that team? Are you hiring or?
I don't know. You'd have to watch our page, but no, it's a cool job. Like imagine what that must be like. But Sean's great because we can write to him and say, hey, we need every example where this was ever done, so we can figure this out. And he just knows stuff inside and out.
Do you also have like internal sources, like a Wikipedia page for only Blizzard employees that you use?
I mean, we have lots of different internal sources, but Sean is way better than all of them.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, because you can ask Sean a very specific question, and he will go research and come back with answers for you.
He did like the show Stomp to Sean as well, where like people got competition going. Oh, it was so much fun.
Yes, exactly.
But the War Within, back to it. So they're working on getting people into it. We also got Delves, which is a brand new system for the War Within. Could that perhaps be used as a way to catch people up on the story or like story progression? Because it reminded me of a lot of the scenarios from Mr. Pandaria. But for those that don't know yet, what are Delves and what is your vision on it?
So Delves are essentially, as you say, one of our like main features for this expansion. They're essentially like a small dungeons, right? That you can do either solo or you can do with like a party of like 1 to 5 people. They're they're basically outdoor content. So one of the things that we wanted to focus on this expansion was to give something to basically every kind of player, right? Some sort of end game, because we have a lot of, we have the people that love to PvP, we have the people that love raiding, Mythic Plus, but we also have the people that maybe they only got like maybe 15, 20 minutes here and there, like in between like all of their other life responsibilities. So Delves is like a really, really nice, like, something that you can get in doing like 15, maybe 20 minutes. You can do it solo if you want, you can do it with a party, and then get out. And in the Great Ball, you will actually have like a new row for like outdoor content.
Right.
So you will actually see like your progression also there as endgame content. But to your question about the story, they can definitely be utilized like that. And I believe that's actually something that we've been doing in this expansion. And I think for those who, now that with early access and the content being available for the players, I think some of them have already potentially done at least Delves, like the very first instance of it.
Yeah, I would say that specifically for catch up on lore, that isn't an avenue that we pursued. Delves as a new feature or something we're quite excited about. But we did want to try using Delves as part of the main line, the main story, because it gives us the potential to add a lot of depth. And we're aware, again, that there are players who either don't have the time or don't like to play with other people. Yeah. That we wanted to have an opportunity to dive into some of these special spaces that have previously, like a dungeon even, that have been built and help tell the story, but maybe aren't available to those folks. So we wanted people to be able to get in quickly and get out quickly. We can put objectives certainly in Delves, and we do that in our level up and in our max level campaign. We send players into Delves specifically. But Delves are a new tool in our toolkit, and something that I expect that if players really like, we'll expand. How much questing we do through them, because I really like any opportunity to send players through, additional content like this.
Because I imagine, like with the Delves, it's such a small scenario. Like you have a lot of freedom to create what you want. And since we got the Infinite Dragons or like a remix, moments of the past could be imported and be like, remember this moment happening? Oh, it's gonna come into play later. And you can, instead of looking it up and reading it, you're actually playing through it in video game. I think a lot of people be beneficial from that.
Yeah, we have some definite thoughts about how we can help players sort of bridge those gaps. I can't talk about it yet.
No.
But it doesn't use.
You really
Delves.
want to talk about it, though, right?
I really do want to talk about it, but and I will later, but not yet.
Okay.
But it doesn't use Delves. Delves right now, we really want to have that great opportunity for those, again, folks that have less time or folks that are not able to gather a party together and just want to go have a good time, gear up. That was really our intent with the feature, and of course we will see what other ways we can use it, right? Because that's what we do. Because we want to make sure we're telling a cool story in all the different ways we can.
And because another thing to make it more accessible for people is the story mode rating that's been added. Yes. And I believe the change has been made with like a week delay compared to normal and heroic, and only the M-boss. And I love the feature. I love that it's going to become available. But why is there still a week delay? And will we ever see the entire raid with like a follower system?
I don't know if we'll ever see the entire raid with a follower system. We're trying this out, and we want to see what feedback we get and what sort of how many people participate. Right? We know how many people generally raid, but we're not sure how many people maybe would enjoy this as a single player activity to jump in and do that story mode. I personally think it's going to be popular.
Yes.
The reason that we delayed a week is because we wanted to have it not feel kind of weird that the first chance that the community sees of this is someone going in by themselves and not that big experience. So we thought, a week's not too long to wait. You can wait a week to go into the dungeon, do the story mode. This is a huge improvement over where we've been in the past, where you had to wait for the last LFR wing to open.
Oh yes.
So and then you'd have to still play with people, which maybe you don't like to do. So that's why we thought, well, let's let the people that are working at it to get to that final moment have that week of fun, and then not have the very first image out there to the community be a solo player that does it.
Yeah, to be the devil's advocate on this one, it's that the reason why I'm asking is because a lot of the story people want to experience in game. And we have now early access. We have beta, PTR, data mining. Basically, if you live on the internet, there's going to be some things that are going to be fly through, and people would love to experience it on their own. And this is actually a next question I have as well. Like, we know a lot of the story from the beta already. How do you look at the trade-off between having a lot of people test the story and it being available versus the surprises and like, ooh, look at what we're cooking?
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. If it were totally up to me, we would not put as much out there. That said, it's important for a lot of other reasons that we test things with a fair number of people, a fair number of different points of view, and different play styles. So while the team will play, we don't represent anywhere near the same number of different, circumstances, states that characters are in, all sorts of different options there. I really like to encrypt things. It's one of my favorite things to do is try to encrypt. And we're improving our encryption. We've been improving our encryption. That's something that we've been working on since probably, Zereth Mortis. We've been slowly but surely working on that. If I had my druthers, and if most people had what they would prefer, we would want the community to experience it all at the same time, But we also want to build excitement and hype. We want people to have that sneak peek. We want our creators to have an opportunity to go in and check things out. We want to get the feedback, right? We want to hear from people what they like and what they don't like. So it's a real trade-off for us. I'm very old school. Back when we didn't do this, you wouldn't show this in beta. So I still have dreams of holding things back like that. But right now, it's very important to us that we're getting the feedback from the player base, from the community. We're hearing their thoughts, and we kind of know what's going on. We still have some stuff though, like if you played last night,
No.
You did not.
I have not played. I've done the Dragonhead riding experience, and that's about it.
Okay, so there was an encrypted section that was opened up last night. So some players will have played that, and then in our max level, there's also the final bits of it also.
So that was on purpose. We're wondering where is that campaign? What's happening here?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because I like to encrypt things.
Okay, cool. Now, it's a genuine discussion. Like, we love the hype and we love to know what's happening, but at the same time, those moments where like, how cool would it be if we all experience it? But it's tricky, especially with a US and EU release as well.
Sure.
With that in mind, does that mean because you're working on 3 expansions at the same time, say that the feedback that you get is like, oh, we need to change direction. Is that still possible? Or are you locked in the similar storyline?
It is possible. So to be clear, we're launching War Within. We're in production on Midnight, and we're in pre-production right now on Last Titan. So everything's going at once. Okay. All of the content updates are going at once as well for the War Within. Quests are at various stages already in all of those content releases. And so we have a high-level plan. We know what the high-level story arc is. It's one big arc across the whole thing. We know what the arc is for each individual expansion as well. and it's the devil's in those details, right? So what happens is we do have room, because if we're getting a reaction from something and people are responding, we can say, oh, we didn't make the motivations clear enough. In the next content release, let's make sure we adjust that, or let's make sure we make there be more opportunity for players to understand what's happening. Oh, players think this happened when actually we meant them to think this other thing happened. We need to provide more detail. So smaller changes like that, totally possible. Big changes, probably not, because we know where we're going, and that is where we want to be in terms of our giant arc. When we planned this out, we made a giant chart, just a huge chart in our collaborative software.
Are there pictures of this anywhere? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. Shame.
And we all just moved things around. We knew what big moments were that we wanted, and we wanted to get the pacing right. So we moved things around, trying to figure out, okay, well, which characters everybody loves are going to show up here and there, and what are their motives, and how does that tie into what all the threads are that we're trying to tie together? And so we sat down to figure all of that out, and we want those things to happen. But we have to leave some wiggle room. There has to be room for clarification, for making sure that we're building, the story in the right direction, that we're not, failing to, explain motives sufficiently or something.
Right.
But it is going to go where it's going. Like, it's
overarching story is known.
In.
So in my mind, for example, we've had feedback about Illyria mentioning there should be no more Horde and Alliance, and then that quest log disappeared. And I'm wondering, like, was the idea like, oh, we're gonna step away from more like the factions, and due to the feedback, now we're actually gonna keep the factions? Or Thrall was mentioned, like Thrall's being frustrated about the elements of the disconnects, and the feedback was like, but hang on, didn't he already reconnect? So I was wondering, like, is that feedback immediately implemented, or am I thinking too specific about things?
No, I think you're probably thinking too specifically.
Okay.
I think that sometimes we want characters to express certain points of view, but that may not represent the point of view of the development team, or where we're planning to go with it.
Okay.
So Larry is an interesting case. She has reason to be frustrated with the factions specifically, and so her expressing, why do we even do this? When we have our big name characters are friends, Jaina and Thrall are buds, right? They hang out. The idea that, we want players to feel, oh, there's this fierce, difference between the two factions, and some of them hate each other. But at the same time, we want players to like to play with each other. Right. And so a lot of our effort to move away from sort of the super restrictive rules around being able to play is just, we want people to be able to play with their friends. And if you've been playing for a long time and you have an Alliance character, and your friend's been playing for a long time, and you have a Horde character, and you can't raid together, or you can't do dungeons or mythics together, that's not very fun. It's not as much fun, certainly, as being able to do it with them.
No, absolutely.
So that's the philosophy behind it. It's less about wanting to sort of, embrace peace or something, and more about, no, I just want people to play together. My brother's loving his goblin, and I'm playing my, my human. We want to play together. We should be able to play together. No. It's a game.
No, fair enough. Awesome. I was wondering about, and I need to throw this in. It doesn't really flow well with the interview, but I need to do it. I was talking with role players, and we've been talking about, okay, we want to make the game more available for single players, for multiplayers, PvPers. But what about the role players? Like, so far the community has taken it upon themselves to like write out the descriptions and make themselves expressive. Is there anywhere in Blizzard that they're like, we want to help with that and offer more tools to make that happen?
We do. We had a really fun hackathon just at the beginning of the year.
Sorry, what's a hackathon?
A hackathon is where the team has an opportunity to just make what they're interested in for about a week. Oh, really? And so they're usually just prototypes. Different people try different things based on what they think is fun. And we were really inspired by the Ibelin movie that came out,
right,
and the deep role playing that was going on there. Yeah. And so a number of people chose to look at what we could do for role play and how we could set things up that way. And so we have some ideas and some projects that came out there that we'll now see, how we can fit those in. Because
you just made a lot of people very happy.
Yeah, because we had an opportunity to talk with some members of that guild They were telling us about their friend, who the movie is about, and how they role play and what makes a difference for them, what makes that extra fun for them. So a lot of people got inspired by that and started thinking about, okay, well, what are things we could do? And I personally saw probably 4 or 5 different groups that put together some prototypes of ways we could help with that.
Very
so
cool.
It's my hope we can find good places to get some of those in. I mean, it's not the sort of thing where you announce, oh, here's a giant feature, because they're smaller things, but that means we can also try to fit them in places. So we do have an interest in helping out the role-playing community.
Awesome. They're going to be very happy about that. About the single player experience, I just thought about it. Will we ever see the option to customize our followers that we're going to be going into the dungeon with? So I've heard suggestion, like we got really cool warbands now, like really customized, transmogged characters. Could we perhaps use those in the dungeons, in the raids in the future?
I mean, I don't think we have any much to announce about that yet. We've definitely been talking about it.
Right.
But based on feedback from the community to see how much they like follower dungeons, that's when we will start like thinking about, okay, would it make sense to actually work on this a little bit more?
Yeah. Because the warband feature, so for people have been over the moon. They're like, I want to customize my background and what we're holding and what we're doing. It's been a really amazing feature.
Yes, we're definitely talking about it.
Cool.
But yes, waiting on feedback right now, seeing how people are liking everything that we're offering with warbands.
Okay. Behind us, by the way, we're looking at Xal'atath, who has been very prominent on the promotional material, and what a character. People have been wondering, I want to say worried, but have been wondering, like, is she going to be a one-off expansion, or is she going to be for the whole arc with us for the World Soul Saga? What can you say?
I don't want to spoil, but at the same time, she's not the sort that you deal with quickly.
I was about to say, yeah.
She's complicated, and as I mentioned, her motives are pretty unknown at this point. I mean, she has been friends, sort of, sometimes, but also she's clearly behind some things as well. I think we saw a very good video of her influencing Queen Ansara.
Oh yeah.
To kill her mother. So we know she's capable of plotting and scheming as well, but why is not really well known, and that's a very interesting sort of character to have around, and I can't imagine we'd get rid of her too quickly.
No, that's fair. It's been so much fun. People wondering, like, who is she? What is she? What is she all about? And it's like, actually invested in, like, oh, this character of Xal'atath. Of course, connected to the Ethereals as well, with Karesh and their history. Mm-hmm. Like, she's been around. She's been in history as well. Has she been? Is the idea that she's been, like, manipulating things very much from the background since day one, or?
I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
She's
I had to try though.
I mean, she's certainly had she's had her ups and downs. I mean, she was stuck in a knife for a very long time. Yeah. So that sort of implies things didn't go great. But that's something we'll explore. We want to tell that story, and we want to pace it out so that everybody understands sort of her backstory and what sort of has made her who she is. And I know that a couple of people commented about her appearance. Right. But again, she can look like anyone.
Oh yeah.
She can look like anything she wants to look like. So
change size as well, apparently,
she's
and
doing
all that
all
good
sorts of
stuff.
things.
Yeah. So I can't wait.
Fun character. Very
Honestly,
fun.
if they're at Gamescom, they should try out the ride. It's so. Have you guys been to the ride?
Yes, I actually just tried the ride right before this.
Oh right.
I had an opportunity to try it after doing a community signing for posters and things, and I just had a great time. I mean, we've been seeing the video of it, but we hadn't had it with the actual scenes.
Were you riding Invincible or Dragon?
I had Invincible.
Everybody's Invincible. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. We're running out of time, unfortunately. I would love to sit with you guys for the entire day. Final question: if you would pass on anything to people listening at home, they're playing into the game, or maybe they're wondering about getting into the game, what would you tell them for the World Within? Like anything, the stage.
I'd say it's a great time if you haven't played in a while, or you've never played World of Warcraft. It's a really good time to start because we're on the ground floor of what is going to be an epic story. I mean, epic. Chris Metzen has crazy ideas that are super exciting and super fun, and the whole team is so thrilled to be working together and figuring out the details. And it's just a really good time to get started. And we're going to do is what we can here to make sure people understand what's happening. They don't have the burden of not knowing 20 years.
Yeah.
So I would say, please check it out. We want you to play the way you like to play. We're trying to add in features like delves that make it possible for people who don't have a lot of time to participate. So come join us.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I think like this is like a great time to come back to the game if you haven't, or just continue playing. It has. I don't think that we have ever like be more accessible in general. I mean, we got Delve, we got, as you mentioned, Warbands, which is if you like to play with all of your characters. Now it's very, very easy to just be able to share faction reputations, transmogs, quests, progression. So it is just a great moment. Also, for those who really like something like Dragon Riding, which is like new movement physics, flying physics that we got in the work within, now that has been expanded to all mounts or most mounts. So it's a great time to go back into the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you both very, very much. Have a wonderful Gamescom.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you too.
All done, job done. Yeah.